All right. Well, thank you guys for having me back. It's a pleasure for me to come back and have another chance to speak with everyone here. I definitely enjoyed listening to a lot of the conversations that we've had over the past several weeks and months, and I wanted to get into a conversation today, and I was thinking about it, and I believe that the topic, the name of this talk will be "You Thought So." And the conversation that I'm going to have with you guys today is about your thoughts and your thoughts that you know that you're having, your thoughts that you don't know that you're having. So we're talking about some different ideas and different understandings of how these work, but based around what? So what we want to do is understand that we can control certain things. We can control our environment, we can control our attitude, we can control our actions, all to certain extents. But the one things that we cannot really control is our thoughts unless we force it. So I believe that everyone here is well familiar with the two streams of thought, two types of thought. You have your conscious thoughts and you have your subconscious thoughts. And that's what we're going to get into today on this presentation. So, relating to what? Again, as I said, we want to all grow, whether it's personally, financially, spiritually, grow in our family, grow in our beliefs, grow in our foundation. And we all have to have goals, things that we need to strive for, to make our life uh, a journey, something inspiring to us. Now, my goal, my visions may not be the same as anyone else's. Someone else's goals and visions are something that I never thought about, never came in my mind. But that's perfect for them because that's what's on their list of things to check off. And we can have many goals. We should have many goals, but we should have one higher goal than everything, one ultimate goal. And you can have, like I said, many goals, but they shouldn't be scattered all over the place. They should be somewhat focused. Some people will say you should have daily goals, daily habits, weekly habits or goals, monthly targets, yearly, 10 years, lifetime, whatever it is, they should all be coinciding and aiming towards the ultimate goal, whatever the main thing is. If you don't have one specific master vision, long-term vision, you're going to get spread everywhere. You're not going to have any way to focus and clearly attack and attain any of your goals in the long run. So it's fine to have many multiple goals, different targets. That's perfectly within reason. But just making sure that what we get through this presentation is a better idea of how to put them together and stay more focused, more on track for the things that you want, for the things that I want, for the things that the people around us want to achieve and accomplish. So, going back to the conscious and the subconscious, our conscious mind helps us determine things, uh, what's right and what's wrong, what's smart and what's not so smart, what's plain stupid, uh, the proper way to handle certain people, the wrong way to handle some people. They say if you mess around, you'll find out with some people. You don't need to go over there. The If you're driving through a new area or you're driving through your town where you lived all your life, you know certain areas that are good for business. You know certain areas that are bad for business. These are all conscious thoughts that come to us. Now, your subconscious thoughts are things that obviously don't they don't materialize right here in the now. They are always going on, but they're not something that you operate off of when you're in your conscious state. I hope this makes sense. There's a big distinction between what's happening here and what's happening in the background. And what we're trying to do is get a way to align the background with your current and your operating system, we'll call it, for how you move and maneuver from this point forward. So the conscious mind, like I said, it knows everything. It knows, it gives you ideas. It has that's where your morals are. That's where your beliefs are. That's where your work ethics are. That's where your attitude comes from, things like that. The subconscious mind does not differentiate. The subconscious mind does not discriminate. The subconscious mind doesn't know what's up, what's down, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, what's tall, short, fat, skinny, any of that. The subconscious mind has to be programmed, or it can be programmed, I should say, but it gets programmed based on the information, the stimulus that comes into your everyday life. Things that go on around you in your environment that come to you program your subconscious mind, whether you know it or you don't know it. So that's the big thing to understand first off on the subconscious versus the conscious. Now, when we write down and we decide what it is that we're going after, whatever it may be, again, like I said, it could be financial, it could be business, it could be family, whatever it is that you have in your mind, you have to take all of that and put it on paper. You have to be very, very specific about what you want, because this plays a part in the subconscious and conscious mind. Once you put it on paper, and when I mean very detailed, you have to put down what you want, put a date on it. How long is it going to take for me to get what it is that I want? When do I expect to have it? You have to put down there what you're willing to do for it, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to give up for it, because you don't get something without giving something. So there has to be some kind of sacrifice in order to gain on the other side. So when you put these things down, you be very and I'll give an example of that. One person says, "Oh, I want to be surrounded by money. I want to just have money everywhere, all over the place. I just want to be able to touch money and feel it and count it and have money all over the place." Well, guess what? Pretty soon they ended up getting a job at a bank, and that's all they were doing was counting money all day. It wasn't their money. They weren't specific about what it was to the detail. If you're not specific on exactly what your goal is, exactly what you want, you'll mess around and get it, but it's not going to be the way that you thought you were going to get it, because you didn't put it down specifically on paper and write it down. There's a scripture that I love going to, and it's in the Old Testament. The book is Habakkuk, is chapter 2, verse 2. And it says, "Make your vision plain on tablets, so everyone that may pass by will see it." This is the same principle, same premise that I'm giving you. You write these things down. 1, this is what I want. 2, this is what I want. This is the date that I want it by. This is what I'm willing to give up in order to get this. This is what I want. This is what I'll do for it. The sacrifice, the part that goes into it. And at the end of it, you write it down, sign it, and memorize it, and repeat it, read it to yourself every day, or say it in a prayer, or do something to get it to go into your memory. And this is where you start to force these things into your subconscious. Now, this is the problem. The subconscious mind, like I said, it's indiscriminatory. It doesn't understand the morals, we'll call it. It doesn't understand what it's being programmed with. It just knows that it's being programmed. And the conscious mind is very fickle or jealous or sabotage happy. The conscious mind will keep paper clips and old pieces of trash and scraps of dirty dishes and things like this, that useless stuff. The conscious mind will keep all of that and feed it to your subconscious mind. And these are things that just clutter up your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is where you really will be able to connect. And connect with what? Connect with there's only 5 things that we operate with that are known, guaranteed fact in this world, in this realm that we're in. There's time, there's space, there's energy and matter, and the 5th thing is where your subconscious mind needs to connect to, is the ultimate or higher intelligence, the master intelligence, the master developer of everything that's out here. Every tree that's on this planet, every lake that's on this planet, every mountain, everything that's in your environment, everything that we can't explain, every animal walking on the ground has the ultimate higher intelligence involved with it. We can't explain it, but that higher intelligence is what we want to come, not an artificial intelligence. So when you can connect your subconscious mind to that higher intelligence, that's when you'll start having things like little nighttime dreams, or you'll have a hunch that comes out of nowhere, and you say, man, I just had the craziest, you wouldn't believe it. You're talking to your friends, I had the doggonest idea, you wouldn't believe what I was thinking. But it might be your subconscious, based on how you're charging it up, understanding and vibrating to you, because thoughts are things. Remember, I'd said energy is one of the 5 things that we operate with, these are guaranteed to be there. Time, space, energy, matter, and the higher intelligence. And thoughts being things, they vibrate. So when you put those thoughts out there, you can set yourself up for failure. You could sabotage yourself. You have to be very specific, very cautious about what you're saying. And I know a lot of times you get what you ask for. There's a song and he says, you get what you ask for, so get it because you asked for it. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people listening to this right now would understand, hey, now I understand why I got everything that I have right now. I've been asking for it all along. And that's a wonderful thing if things are going the way that you want, if they're going the way that you put them down on your paper. But if you got everything that you're asking for and you're struggling to make it by and things are not going right, well, you might need to change that programming because you've been asking for it. So it's a bitter pill to swallow in that sense. We have to understand that these things can be controlled, these things can be changed, these things will manifest however you call the play. You are the coach, you're the designer. Your conscious mind has to run the play, but you have to move the conscious and all of its distractions out of the way of controlling your master connection with that higher intelligence to move you towards your goals. So I hope that part of it makes sense. Now, aside from that, I just really want to impress on it that these thoughts are so important. The vibrations that we put out, it's like a boomerang. When you send something out, it's going to come back. And if you nature is like that. You know, nature will give you a set of tools, and if you use those tools, nature will reward you incredibly, abundantly, exceedingly, based on your use of the tools. But when you have all those tools and you don't use it, nature will penalize you beyond belief. That's what's happened to a lot of us. That's happened to me. I'm no less of fault at this situation too. These are just things that I've had to realize. But when nature provides, when you connect and really get involved with that higher intelligence, we can't explain these things. Like I was saying earlier, the mountains and the oceans and the fields and everything that's in our environment, the sky and the ground that we walk on. And when nature creates something, it doesn't create it with a limit on it. When you go out and get these things straightened out and get your subconscious mind to where it needs to be, you'll have everything that you ask for beyond imagination. Not to what's suitable. I'm not going to tell you that you only get what you need and that's the end of it. Only you can put a limit on how much you get. You can have as much as you want. When you put a grain in the ground and sow a grain for harvest purposes, when it comes back up, you have tens of thousands of grains. When you put 2 or 3 kernels of corn in the ground, when you come back after harvest season, you have 7 ears of corn. And it'd be nice if you could put a Rolls Royce in the ground and 7 Rolls Royces will come up. But it's the same idea. When nature produces, when nature says, I'm going to produce, this higher intelligence produces fish, it doesn't just produce enough fish to feed humans. If there's enough fish for the bullfrogs and the snakes and the alligators and everything else in there, and still extra left over for its purposes and things of that nature. So there's no cap on what you can have. You thought so. So that's the main purpose, and hopefully the understanding, and hopefully you guys understand, get what it was my intent on this conversation here. We could definitely go into it deeper in further discussions, and I'd love to take any questions and answers, and I would give a somewhat of a homework assignment if possible. And I'd love to come back next week and listen to everyone, and I'll share mine. Write down your specific goals, things that you're working towards, that you're gonna charge yourself up. And if it doesn't work out right away, or if it's a plan that seems to be going off course a little bit, you could change it, throw it out, and put a new goal in there, put a new path on there that takes you in the right direction to where your ultimate goal should be. So you can always amend it and change it and correct it. But that's something that I'd love to see that, and I'll share mine with everyone, hopefully next week if that works out too. But just put something down, and it's may become a little bit long-winded. It may be made more than one. Maybe you have the front and the back side of a page filled out. But I'd suggest that everyone get on ball with this and stop leaving all that clutter around, and let's get ourselves focused and make sure that we're all successful and moving forward towards our higher goals. So with that, I'm open. I'm finishing up my speech part here, and I'm open for any comments or questions that anyone may have.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the conscious and the subconscious. So which one do we live out of?
You actively live out of your conscious mind, because your conscious mind controls what your thoughts are in the moment. Your goal is to have your conscious mind understand and correspond with what your subconscious mind should be programmed with, because your subconscious mind is really your subconscious mind is really what you live out of, to answer your question. But you You don't operate in that subconscious mind. So you have to get your remember I said the conscious mind is somewhat fickle when it comes to dealing with the subconscious. They're completely different. And the conscious mind, if you let it, will completely sabotage your subconscious mind. So sometimes you have to read and say the same thing, and then the conscious mind will start coming up with all those pieces of junk and trash and cluttered plates and dirty laundry and things like that, until you read it enough to yourself and charge yourself up enough that your conscious mind has no choice but to say, all right, you're bombarding me enough. Go ahead, take this thought into subconscious and see what subconscious will do with it. That's a great question, and it's a hard one to explain, because we operate in the conscious moment, but the subconscious is really the foundation for everything that we do. Knowing it or not, the subconscious doesn't differentiate.
Appreciate the answer. Great response. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Brother Andrew, I see you. If you could come off mute, I will answer your question.
Could you elaborate more about how to change your subconscious mind? Besides this, keeping at it and keeping at it and keeping at it, what else can you do?
Well, sometimes we have a habit as humans of procrastination. And if you know that you are a master of procrastination, you might have to make a conscious decision. Might have to make that actual decision. Say, hey, I'm quitting smoking, or I'm quitting being lazy, and I'm going to walk around the block. And then next week I'll walk around 2 blocks. You might have to make that conscious decision and fight through it for a little bit until it becomes habit, until it becomes ingrained. Because again, the fight, everything comes back to yourself. Everything in this world comes back to yourself. You're the architect. You're the coach and the quarterback. You have to coach yourself, but then you have to go out there and run the play. So if you charge yourself up enough, if you have enough good environment, good things coming into your environment, and you put up a fence around you and block out all the other bull, all the junk that's out there, and you only keep feeding yourself good stuff, pretty soon your mind is going to have no choice but to start assimilating and getting in tuned with those things that you're forcing in there. And you might seem like the biggest fool walking around saying, I'm good, I'm great, I shall, I must, I will. You might look like the biggest certified bona fide turkey, but you have to understand that you're not doing it for anyone else, you're doing it for yourself. Do you think that certain people walk around with concerns about how other people look at some of the highest profile? Look at Elon Musk. Does he walk around looking like he's got a concern or something that he's worried about as an objection or something that will get in his way? Now, I don't know if there's truth to it or not, but I heard that he's considering buying MSNBC. Who knows what he's going to do with that Microsoft company? I don't know, but he doesn't let anything get in his way, not for a minute. And that's what you want to eventually charge your subconscious mind up to not let anything be a barrier to you, and to not stop you from going in the direction that you're supposed to go.
Blocking out the negative or the distracting stuff and focus on it and keep focus on it until it's real.
That's it.
Also, do we put all the emotions in it like we already have it?
You have to be emotional about it. The only thing the conscious mind will let by is something that you're afraid of, or something that you're emphatic about, something that you're excited about. If you have a hobby, or if you have a certain music, or if you have a certain sport or activity that you love doing right now, your conscious mind will let you do it with no problem. If you're afraid of spiders, or if you're afraid of dogs, or if you're afraid of something, your conscious mind will make sure that you stay away from that, from those things. So you have to have an emotion and an energy behind your thoughts. Great
Thank you.
question. Great question. Mr. Mo, I see your hand.
I wanted to ask a question. What if you consciously live for the subconscious? Like if your understanding of the subconscious, right? But you stay in your conscious mind, always living for the subconscious. Like you're feeding yourself consciously all the things you want, all the things you need, all the things that nurture you and yourself. And if you live for the subconscious, is that a good or a bad thing? Or is it the way you should be doing it? Because if you're consciously thinking of the subconscious and what you're feeding your subconscious consciously, you see what I'm saying? Like you're walking in that purpose. You never waver from that purpose.
Yeah, you got a humdinger of a way to explain that one. I promise. I get what you're saying. If you continue, and that's really what you want to do, honestly and truly. You want to feed yourself. You want to be able to. I think I said it already. Is really just charge up, like energize that subconscious. If you're actively thinking about that all the time, you should already be on the beam. You should already be on the path. You should already be moving that way, and your subconscious should be bringing you certain ideas and certain inspirations and certain characteristics that will supply your movement and get you moving towards what it is that you need to get handled, what you need, whatever it is that's on your goal, whatever your ultimate goal, whatever your smaller goal, it should be bringing you to that. If you're consciously saying, all right, subconscious, I'm gonna read one book a week, and I'm gonna become a master speaker. I'm gonna start doing speaking engagements, things like that. But you say that to your subconscious, and you tell yourself you're gonna do that, but then all you do is go out and read a comic book. That's not the right kind of book. That's number one. That's not holding true to what it is that you're charging yourself up. So you're going to confuse your subconscious. You have to be very specific. You have to be down to. That's why I say you should put dates to things. You should say what it is that you're willing to give up. Sometimes we say we want all these things, but we don't have anything that we're willing to sacrifice. It's going to take some kind of give to get.
Right. Okay.
So your question was fantastic. I follow where you were going with it, and you're right on track. But and you may be already on track. You may be coming out with. I know in your business, you're a top producer in the music business, and I think we all see the work that you're doing. So you're definitely manifesting these things. They don't come out of nowhere. These thoughts are, again, like I said, they vibrate. They're energy. They're one of those 5 elements. And if your subconscious is connecting to that higher intelligence, it's bringing these ideas forth through you. And that may be the long nights, no sleep, constant networking and running around and going from state to state. That may be the sacrifice that's needed. So I'm not saying that you specifically are not doing the work, but that's the idea. The way you explained it was a roundabout way of explaining it, but it's the right idea. If you charge yourself up real good, if you charge up a battery pack in the wall for 3 weeks, and then you go over there and lick your finger and touch it, boy, you're gonna get the point real fast. So yeah, a great question. I hope I was able to confirm what your question was there to you, because that's the right path.
Yes, sir. Heard.
Appreciate that. Anyone else? I'm not seeing any hands up, but I'll take a few more. Go ahead.
Yeah. My question is like this: like, what would you do different than a lot of those internet gurus talk about when it comes to manifestations and all of this, because you hear a lot of this right now online. And what would you do different from what they are basically preaching?
Well, the main thing would be I would start doing. I would put some action behind it. Uh, 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 you know what they say, you have faith. The sign back here, I don't know if it's written frontwards or backwards in my camera, but faith. But faith without action is dead. You can get a motivation from anyone. Maybe you're getting motivation from me, but if you don't back it up with some action, it's worthless. So you could listen to this. You could listen to 100 other presentations. If you don't do anything about it and put some action back of it, nothing's gonna happen. I can't go out to the field and say, "All right, watermelons grow," and that's all I did was just walk out there and say, "Grow." I didn't put any work. I didn't dig up the ground. I didn't make sure it was good ground. I didn't even know if I had any good seeds. Maybe I planted tomato seeds and I'm thinking I'm going to get watermelons. So you have to put action. You cannot, you're not going to accomplish anything. You have to make yourself into a verb and really start moving around. It has to be all about action.
So in a way, like people watching fitness videos and not acting upon it. They just take it more for entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Great question. I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't exactly bring that up, and I should have. None of what I'm telling you will make a difference at all if you don't put the work in. All right. Was there another hand? I don't know if I saw another hand come up. Anyone else?
My hand is raised.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Steve.
When it comes down to being specific, or in your plan, mapping out your plan, how detailed should that? How detailed do you make it? What is considered detailed enough?
Well, like I said, that's a great question. Like I said, just a few minutes ago, I said that the guy wanted all that money around him, and he ended up getting a job at the bank. There's another person said, "Oh well, I just love the ocean. I just want to be by the water. I don't want to be inland. I want to be near the water. I want to hear the ocean, hear the smell the breeze, smell the salt water and things like that." Next thing you know, he got enlisted and went into the Navy, and he spent the next year and a half out on a ship in the ocean somewhere. But that wasn't exactly his intent or his plan. But he spoke about the ocean so much, he just didn't know that he was going to walk in there and sign up and get stuck on a ship. So you have to be very specific with what it is that you want, or else you'll get it just in the wrong way. Be specific as in what it's going to look like when you have it.
Meaning visualize it as well.
Exactly. If you say, yeah, I want to have $1 million, well, that's fine. Everyone wants. I'm sure no one here on this call would turn down $1 million. But for what? How is it going to work? What is it going to do? What are you going to make it turn into? How will you repurpose it and reuse it to benefit you? For what benefit will it be at all? Why do you deserve it, more or less? It has to be down to a T. And that's why I said I'm not going to ask anyone to give me a full statement right now. Let's take some time and start writing these things out. And there's nothing wrong if you have something that you put down on your paper that you want to work towards. There's nothing wrong if it doesn't work out. Just scratch it off, change it, throw that one out, and write a new one. Put something else there. But regardless, again, they should all be like a point, like this. If you have a bunch of goals here at the bottom,
thank you for that.
Yes, sir. If you have a bunch of goals at the bottom, They should all be piling up towards the same direction till you get up to the ultimate, whatever your long-term goal is. And your long-term goal, I'll tell you guys this too. If you really want to do something outstanding and amazing, your long-term goal, your ultimate highest goal, should be something that's not going to be accomplished until after your body is gone, until your physical. I mean, your goal should be that big that it's gonna take a lifetime of achievement. Our brains could do 20,000 trillion calculations a second. That's faster than any supercomputer out there. That's better than any artificial intelligence that's out there. We get that subconscious in tune with the highest intelligence. We're on it. We're on it, and we all can. We might have to beat ourselves up. We might have to cuss ourselves out. You might have to almost choke yourself to death to get it into your mind. But we can do it. You can do it. I can do it. We all can do it. And I feel sorry for anyone who just says, well, I just want to get by. I had a talk with Lee a week or so ago, and I just really feel truly sorry for anyone who doesn't have a higher goal, who just is satisfied with just coasting by. Woe unto them. So that's what I see on that. And that was a great question, Steve. Be very intentional. We got time. We get another question. I see Brother Andrew. Andrew, I got your hand up there, sir.
Yes. Could you say a little bit more about that? About the higher goal, even beyond your life here? Are you talking about like generational growth and generational wealth of generations that's coming up in the future?
Yes, I mean, if you really want to have something that's that strong, that is going to take you having what it's going to do is going to build your goals. Like I said, they start like this. You might have 10 goals, 10 small goals, and then next year your goals get a little bit less. You might have 6 goals for next year or 5 years from now, and then in 15 or 20 years you might only have 3 or 4 goals or 2 goals that you need to get to. But that highest goal is going to require you, now you built a foundation like this where you need all of this stuff that work together. You don't know if it's going to be most likely it's going to be involving people. You're going to have a conglomerate and a network of people who carry on what it is that your mission was, whether you know them or not. So that's why I say, if you want to really do something spectacular, don't think small term. Don't think small. The only person could put a limit on something and say, well, this is all I get is you. That's the only person that can limit what you get is you. I won't limit what you get. I want you to have everything. And I'm sure everyone else on this call wants each and all of us to have everything. As much and more than we even know. Like I told you about the fish in the sea. It's not just 10 fish and that's the end of it. And once those 10 fish are gone, that's the end of it. There's enough for everything. For the birds to come down and get them, there's enough for everything. So there's abundance for all of this. And so that's just to clarify. I hope that clarifies it a little bit better. Don't be scared to dream big. So that's the other one here. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. That's on one side of me. And I got my family, but the other side is walk by faith and not by sight. But you have to put the action behind it. So thank you again, brother Andrew. And anyone else, I take one last quick question because I know we've gone over here. If anyone got a question, if not, I'll go ahead and wrap it on up because you guys have had some great questions. I will say this real quick. Two things. Now I'm thinking about fish again. It takes a strong fish to swim against the current, but a dead fish could float with it. And this is work. What we're talking about is work. You're doing some inside work. You're got a construction site going on in your body after what you guys listened to me talk about here today with your subconscious. And everyone knows what would be considered like the greatest the most known or respect most prettiest flower, whatever. People would generally say, oh, it's a rose. But a rose wouldn't be so big and so beautiful if you didn't have to go through the thorns to get it. It just wouldn't be worth it. The rose wouldn't be thought of as anything if you didn't have to go through some thorns to get it. So these are things that we have to go through and get over ourselves. So I hope that that answers everything for folks. I really unless anyone got one last, I got time for another minute, one minute, one question, one quick one, and that's it.
One quick one, one fast one, and knock it off. So we can categorize it as collective consciousness in a way that is solidified in the junction of what we want and how we perceive that we want it versus to what we perceive that we want it and not action in the way that we should receive it. Is that the notion of it?
Yes. If you set yourself up for failure, you're going to get it. You're going to, and I said it earlier. If you look at what you have now, not Dr. Pearson, I know that you're definitely on point. I know that you are all the way in proper movement. So I'm not talking about you. And I'm not specifically even going to talk about anyone on this call here. But if you go down and talk to your neighbor and they ask them, or you don't even have to ask them, just look at them. You can tell what they've been asking for. Because they've been asking for the whole time they've been asking for it. So you manifest those things. So let's get that subconscious tuned up, get the oil changed and get the spark plug, get them tires rotated on that subconscious and get it rolling down the road good.
So that also give it to the connectivity of vibration itself being that frequency thereof, right?
You thought so, huh?
Taste the soup. I'm done. I yield.
I appreciate it. Great questions. Great question, everyone. Thank you again. It was my honor, privilege to be here again, and I hope that this touched and reached you guys in some sort of way. And I know that we ran on a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. And hopefully get together next week and hear some great things of how you guys are going to be very intentional and charge yourselves up. So that's it for me, guys. And with that, I'll send it on back to the host. Thank you again.